All right, what's up, degenerates? Wall Street Jesus here. The weekly Tuesday Degenerate Show. A couple things I think we should hit on. Make it a little quicker this webinar than usual. You know, maybe I could talk stocks all night long if you like, but kind of got to get out of here at some point in time this evening. But a couple important things to keep an eye on for the remainder of the week here, and I'm trying to figure out what would be the best place to start off. All right, let's talk about today first. Um, you guys hear me talk about this a lot, especially late last year, because of the market environment. Just when you're getting to these pullback corrective phases, we went through a nice stretch in this bull market. There wasn't too many of them. But you'll hear me throw around the term, it's just a sentiment squeeze, right? And explaining the flow more than just the price action, the type of flow we're seeing. And that's pretty much what we had today, okay? And in simple English, what that generally means, when I see buyers get aggressive, when sweepers get aggressive in the options market, and they're playing for some sort of bottom, like they're playing with some confidence behind them, okay? You're not going to hear me use that line because that would be the total opposite, all right? But what that would means when they're sweeping aggressively, okay, both can come in aggressive order flow, all right? So it's not a matter of the activity being aggressive or not. It's just better look in action. I guess the best way to say it's more the qualities there, okay? They're willing to go out a little further in time. You'll see them continue to come after a name, right? Stay aggressive, accumulate a name. Yeah, lay wood, we talk about that a lot. In other words, they'll stay closer to the money, okay? Rather than a sentiment squeeze, they'll hit weekly, bi-weekly, front month cheap crap. Excuse my French. I broke the rule already, Megan. 5 minutes in. But you know what I mean? That's the most important difference. Okay, but both can be fun. Both can be profitable. A lot of times when you're coming out of a corrective phase, all right, and you feel like you don't have as much exposure as you would like, right? We like to buy into weakness or off weakness, and you don't feel like you've bought enough into a correction. You rather it be a sentiment squeeze, okay? And sentiment squeezes, it all depends. We just, again, just like any other squeeze out there, can last one day. We've been seeing a lot of that in this market, where you get it all in one day, right? And how do we know it's one day? You get basically a lot of the short-term indicators we look at that were flashing bullish signals, okay, and got us leaning bullish into or off weakness, go from bullish signals to bear signals are on it. So basically that's players out there being extremely bearish, right? All lathered up in protection, hedging everything they can possibly get their hands on. And just off of one powerful squeeze, again, one day, they can unravel all that protection and hedging and almost basically get to a net long position. And you guys see, a lot of people say, wow, sentiment shifts quickly. I mean, that's the nature of the game, okay? And you'll see it a lot more when you come out of phases like we did last December. That's in the back of players' heads a lot. So you'll see sentiment shift quite rapidly, okay? So the one thing to understand, okay, when you have enough evidence out of the flow, and again, if you're in the Steam Room private Twitter, you're not here to try to figure that out on your own yet. You want to learn to be able to pick up on that, obviously. But the reason why you're there is for me to tell you that, right? For me to bring you and make you aware to something like that. So you're going to hear me talk about that and mention that several times throughout a session. But once you have enough flow throughout the day, and a lot of times I can almost see it early on, through it takes a morning to be able to get a good gauge on whether it's a sentiment squeeze or, you got players laying the hammer down, trying to nail a bottom. Once you understand it's that type of activity, you want to basically take what the market's giving you. Okay. So in other words, you don't want to get greedy. If you were in something short dated for a trade, you want to make sure you hang on to that profit. Okay. Not turning it into something, larger when that wasn't the initial premise when you first put on the trade. All right. So those are the things you got to understand. And at the same time, when markets are going higher, you're going to feel more bullish. All right. But understanding that it's just basically a squeeze off extreme bearish sentiment, you got to understand yourself. You're part of that. We are what make up those sentiment readings. You understand? So basically, in simple English, today, that's exactly what we saw in the flow. All right. And prior to that, you've heard myself and a lot of people out of the steam room complain about the type of flow since earnings season has started up here, and the lack of clean quality buying out there. All right. So you heard me mention also several times how I almost feel more comfortable in playing ETFs right now than individual names. Okay, because I think there's a lot of luck involved in individual names. I'll give you an example. I mentioned this morning. Just imagine, okay, yesterday we came in to yesterday's session hoping for weakness, right? Hoping for a pull and possibly set up, a long entry on something based off sentiment, right? And let's just say, you saw a little Facebook action. I don't remember if there was any action in Facebook. I'm just using it as an example. You see some action in Facebook and you make a play, right? You make a bet on Facebook off sentiment and thinking the market's going to squeeze and maybe you get a bigger bang for your buck in Facebook. Okay. Again, I'm just using an example. You can probably find another 100 names today that did this. And you get a nice squeeze, right? A profitable squeeze, and you get Facebook opens up and heads south $2. There's nothing more frustrating, especially in this environment. All right, there's nothing more annoying and frustrating than when you're looking to get tactical, right? You're staying disciplined, you're waiting for the selling to come in, you're looking to buy weakness, and then lock it in or roll into the rip. And you happen to land on the name that doesn't participate in the rally at all. Okay, now Facebook, I know Facebook had a spurt today. Again, I'm just using it as an example of how a lot of times when the flow is like this, okay, and we are still technically in earnings season, but even that's irrelevant. When we're in a climate like this, you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Okay, so the easiest way to avoid that is just you make a bet on the market. And I get it. You're probably going to get a bigger bang for your buck on certain names out there. Okay. But you run that extra risk of running into something like a Facebook that doesn't participate. All right. And the better you can try to avoid frustration in this game, right? The more you can do that, the better off you are. So it's just something right now that I've been stressing to you guys. Have heard me ad nauseum mention this since the flows look like this. You'd rather be safe than sorry. You're trying to, and here's the thing too, right? We're in a volatile market. Again, I use the word tactical. We're putting our traders caps on. We're trying to stay disciplined, not chase green, blah, blah, blah. This is not the time to really try to stretch yourself out and get greedy, right? You want to make some money, you want to grind it out, and then when things really line up, right? When the flow improves, when the sweeper activity is getting us excited and everything's lining up, then we can open up a little bit. Then we can open up a little bit. But right now, it's more of, again, just getting through this climate, surviving, and getting to the light at the end of the tunnel. Because trust me, no matter what happens, and you guys heard me say this throughout the whole bear market last year, we could have another leg lower, things can get dicey, but the best part of all of that is when it finally comes to an end, okay? Because that's where the money's made. All right, that's where the money's made. Here you want to be, you want to be prudent about it, put it that way. All right, so nothing has changed. Yeah, we had a rally today, nice. We faded late in the day a little bit, whatever the case may be. All in all, I think it was based off sentiment and nothing more. Okay, at the highs, at the lows, at the end of the day, no matter what. All right, nothing in flow. There wasn't any evidence of that changing. Okay, so we stick to the playbook, and what I think may happen here. Okay, and again, I try not to predict the future because I spin my wheels, right? Each and every time I try to do that. I've been talking about rotation. That never happens, right? It's like I jinx it every time. But a lot of times when you get this type of setup here, okay, what we're looking for now, we're looking to still focus on buying into those flushes and weakness, right? When we have sentiment on our side. And what we're going to see happen is not only the flow improve, right? The quality of the activity improve, if we're getting out of this possibly, okay? But we're going to see these scary sell-offs based off trade war news, blah, 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 and they're going to be a lot more shallow, okay? We shouldn't see days like yesterday, even though it led to a squeeze today. There should be that whoosh, and then we see some decent action come in to buy that whoosh. All right, and that's another thing. Like yesterday, for example, and again, you guys heard me complaining about it, the flow was awful. Right? I could lie to you and tell you, oh yeah, they bought the living daylights out of things yesterday for the squeeze today, but honestly, they didn't. Right? One of the most bullish things we saw them buying the DIA, which it looked like the guy flipped today, by the way. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. I saw it a little late, but it looked like Neil Diamond flipped them today. Those calls, the DIA calls. Right? It goes to show you what's going on out there right now. All right, but yesterday, like the top activity out there yesterday was, you had October buying an MYL, which good luck with that, right? This name's crazy. And then, it was like bullish activity in this PTC, which looks good, but that's not what they buy when these things are ready to come to an end. So it's not like the activity is going to stick out bullish even for these sentiment squeezes. But when we have sentiment line up, it's almost like we want to force ourselves to lean bullish and find something to play for a trade so we can get through this period. Okay. And like I said, not to jump around, but what will change, the shallower pullbacks, okay, which may come off negative headlines or Trump tweets or whatever the hell it goes on out there. What we're going to see is we're going to see quality start to come in a lot quicker and a lot more aggressive into those pullbacks. All right. So again, just my gut, I think that they're going to look to buy weakness here. Right? They got a little window to hold things up. Things have really come in here. So we should see buyers come into weakness. Maybe the rally, some sort of rally will last over the next couple weeks. And then, we'll see what the flow looks like after that. But, they did a lot of damage out there. They did a lot of damage out there on the sentiment end. A lot of good things. All right, so we're gonna still, again, day by day approach, but I think we remain tactical here. Same game plan, nothing changes because of a squeeze today, and we'll see how they lay them out the rest of the week. And just to touch on intraday, because I know I get a lot of questions on that for those of you who are day trading. Like any squeeze, you're going to see, and we had a gap up today, all right? So kind of threw a little hurdle into things, not like Friday where we had that nice reversal. But what you want to see on these squeeze days of sentiment, even though you get a little gap up, members, you heard me talk about that in the pre-market video. What you want to look to lean bearish off any fade, right? So even if the market faded early and gave back a chunk of that green, because of where we were at the close yesterday, as far as the bearishness out there, and as far as everybody already being all hedged out, that's basically what the sentiment was showing us, that everybody was already lathered up in protection. So what, in simple English, what that is trying to tell us is that whatever weakness is out there shouldn't last long. It shouldn't be that deep when you have everybody already selling and already hedged. Okay, so you want to lean bullish on those early fades. You want to look for any sort of clues at a flow, even if it's just squeeze flow, that money's coming in here and the squeeze is still on. All right, and that's what I was trying to explain to you guys early on in the morning. Okay, and then then the market's ripped. Once again, you guys saw me throw out there. Once the squeezometer gets to neutral, it's not like the rally has to end there, but basically, you lost for the day anyway. You lost that edge off a sentiment for the squeeze. No, not lean bearish, lean bullish. Did I say bearish? I meant bullish. Lean bullish, of course. All right. We didn't have, like yesterday, we didn't have any green liners today. And it was an update, so that's rare. We had one here that led to a little bit of a breather, not much. Things just flattened out the rest of the day. So nothing too crazy. Here are some of the top bets, top orders on the day, bullish orders on the day. This was a good looking sweep, MCHP. All right, so one to maybe keep in the back of your head, especially if there's any sort of weakness in the next day or so. Reason being, it's at a decent spot. But here's the problem, okay? And this has been the problem with Flow for weeks now. You have NVIDIA reporting. I don't know if there's anybody else in the group that could have an influence reporting. So again, that added risk, right? Otherwise, you look at it, a name like this, off a pull like this, and this is a beautiful thing. Just like they hit it the last time. Remember where they hit it the last time? Bink, right there. All right, but here it gets a little more difficult. So just again, there's no problem with it. There's risk in this game no matter what. But just understand there's that added risk now in these individual names. One, earnings. Two, here's another one, right? That we really didn't have to talk about until this week. We got May expiration. So any May exposure out there that's expiring, okay, players are going to look to replenish that. So it comes across as, oh, look at that big size bull bet. But in reality, it's not fresh money. It's still bullish, but not as bullish. Okay. But this MCHP, more for the spot and all, if we have any weakness, and God forbid they hit it again, maybe a nice spot for a squeeze if you're still looking at names. That was probably the top order on the day. This one, not as much size behind it, but look clean, BBBY. This name had some news as well, not too long ago. It's been in the news. You guys remember the earnings back here. They were buying it before earnings pretty aggressively and then had a gap up, ruin that off earnings. So again, nice pull, like a lot of things out there. Some flow coming in. You got earnings coming up here. You got wrong one. They look the same though. Here. So you got a nice pull here, a niner here. You got retail earnings all over the yard. Tomorrow morning, I think Macy's, this, that, the other thing. So you got a lot of balls in the air. But again, if a name you guys, anybody been eyeing out there, nice spot off a niner. If you're interested, caught a nice sweep. Oops. Okay. Oops. Again, I did it. Hold on. There we go. Here are two orders and two names a lot of you guys like to trade. Facebook. Some hefty August activity. You can see August 180s, opening action. There were a couple sweeps, then a block followed. Okay, so you had sweepers front running a block there for the most part, and there looked like there were some make calls closing around it. So like I just discussed, hefty orders, but could be replacing some of that May exposure that's going to expire this week. The same goes for Facebook, Apple. I'm already tongue-tied today. But Apple, June 7th, 187 and a halves, opening 1.2 million. But again, could be deceiving because it could be replacing some May stuff. All right. But again, I'm sharing you guys what I'm doing for myself. I'm trying to take it nice and easy here with names. Okay, if I see a name that I like with some time into weakness, I'll take a shot, but I'm not going crazy. And if I'm looking to play a squeeze, if I'm going to play a name, I gotta have market exposure with it. I have to, because like I explained to you to start the webinar, nothing will frustrate me more than getting in a name and getting nothing out of it and being right on the squeeze. That's the problem. You're right and you didn't get paid. That's nothing worse than that. All right, so that was the top action today. There was other action out there, aggressive, but again, spec stuff. AMD, you could have got in the middle of it for a day trade. Definitely on the equity side, the options were cheap. They didn't move, but you're talking about a couple cents. They were buying a lot of spec action. May 24th lottos. I think they started buying 12 and 13 cents, went to like 17 cents. A lot of out of the money spec action. Could be playing on the NVIDIA earnings. Could be a number of things. All right. Did have a nice move from when the action started up around, well, it really started up around lunchtime. Where was that? Right around here. Out of this. All right. But would I swing it off that? No, unless you're looking to roll the dice on some cheapies, but I wouldn't go crazy. No way. All right, and there was a lot of other stuff like this. The biotechs, you had ABBV off the open catch action like that. You see, got hot early in the morning. I didn't see what she did. Well, she faded at the end of the day like a lot of things. XBI caught a little bit of play. That faded as well. But this is all early on in the day off the squeeze. All right, but these, as far as the top orders out there, this is pretty much it. And that's it. Anybody see anything that I missed today in individual names or the market? Anybody have? Yeah, I missed a B on the Bed Bath & Beyond. I got it there. All right. Does anybody have any questions on, the difference in sentiment squeeze and anything else? Sometimes I don't explain it that well. It's not the easiest thing to explain unless you see it. Twilio caught a little squeeze sweeper today. I heard quite the move. I didn't play it, but I heard she had a decent move. She doubled? Seriously? Jesus. Yep. And it was a cheap one, right? It was cheap. Went there to 52 cents. Unreal. So yeah, especially early on in these days in the session when you get these, the first day of a squeeze, you get these crazy moves. Hopefully, maybe later in the week into Expiration Friday, you guys will be able to play some lotto. Some of you degenerates, hope for some weakness um, tomorrow, or the next day, and set up a decent entry for a possible squeeze. Fry some of those puts. Fry some of those puts that were out there. You know what I wanted to do and I forgot to do? But again, I did the morning video. I wanted to go over some of the sentiment stuff out there, but that we go on for days talking about that. How about this? Where we closed today on the squeezometer, last I seen, I didn't get the closing read, but right around neutral. So that's good, right? A lot of times we see the squeezometer fry off one day. That's the last thing we wanted to see if we wanted this rally to hang in there a little bit. I'm trying to think. I had some other things I wanted to. Oh, McElliott. Anybody who's a McElliott fan, Charlie McElliott from Nomura. Basically, he's been right on the money to this point. Was talking about selling puts, starting to sell puts yesterday into weakness. Basically calling for some sort of rally. And now what he sees here is a little bit of a pause and into weakness. That's where you can start looking at upside calls, pretty much for what we've been talking about. So he's on the same page. He's on the same page. All right, and very quickly, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, some analysts, a lot of us are a big fan of out of Nomura, who looks at positioning to come up with his strategy, more so quants and CTAs and stuff like that. All right, so he's on the same page we are. He said we're going to learn a lot from some of the weakness we're going to see in the coming days. They should be shallow pullbacks, and if that's the case, basically we're going to have we had the down, up today, little down, and then push higher for a little bit there. And it makes sense, right? You have the timeline now. Is this, you got to laugh though. You're going to tell your grandkids about trading and playing this game in this time. It's incredible, no? You had literally for how many straight days after the whole trade agreement went south, the bad mouthing of China and how they're evil doers, right? As the market just continued to roll over and sell. And then today, you have them coming and making comments, Trump, it's a little squabble, right? A little squabble. We have a great relationship, love letters. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. And if you ask me, I think he's looking at a lot of the sentiment indicators we're looking at. Call me a conspiracy theorist. But every time things get cooked, he seems to start something up. And then every time, people get shaken out into the lows, he's singing a whole different tune. It really is fascinating. So even more so now that, to keep an eye on, pay attention to sentiment here more than anything else. More than anything else. What else we got going on? Again, individual names. He probably does, Steven. He probably does. Individual names are just tough. I see you guys asking on some. I think this MMM, I bought some of the Julys, as you guys know. I think it squeezes. I really do. I think it squeezes. But, here's the thing. And obviously now, right, I'll be honest with you guys. And not cause up or down. It's got nothing to do with that. But if I had to buy the Triple M now, I probably don't do it. You know why? Because I feel like the market needs to rally for me to make money on this. You understand? I need a market rally. I need these trade war names, these cyclicals to squeeze for this thing to make a move, barring some, crazy news somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather buy, make a play on an ETF or something that I really feel confident about. And there's not too many names. I mean, I'll give you one name. Until it doesn't, CRM is one of the best, right? We see it all the time. They buy it like it's an ETF. So that's the problem with names now, guys. But listen, if the overall market does levitate here over the next couple of weeks, more names than not should lift, right? And the same thing, like, the Boeing people were asking about. You're making a play on the Dow, right? Pretty much. So you just got to make sure you understand that, and don't get wrapped up in the noise around it. Because here's the problem: like, a lot of times people will see flow in a name, and when the name doesn't work out, they're cursing out the name or the flow. But a lot of times there's a good chance that anything else you were in, you probably would have lost money anyway. You know what I mean? When you get into these type of climates, it is what it is. That's how it usually works, Honey. Yeah, SPY, Nick, and that's another thing. Like, some of the cleanest action out there, and you don't hear this much out of my mouth. Those of you who know me for a while know that. The cleanest action has been in ETFs. Now, granted, there's put buying in SPY, there's call buying, but when they really want to get aggressive, they're doing it in ETFs. And it tells you a lot about, again, where we're at right now. That will change, just like it changed, every other pullback we had, or even the bear market that through the Christmas holiday late last year. It will change. It doesn't have to. You got to understand, the flow doesn't. I say this: the flow doesn't always stick out like a sore thumb at the lows. Okay, but you will always see sweepers explode at the early stages of a rally. May not be at the exact lows, right? You may see some selective picking here and there. It may not be obvious to us that the flow's really starting to improve, but I can promise you one thing. At the first phase of that rally, okay, at the initial stage, you will reach a point where you say, whoa, there it is. And until you see that, you take what the market's giving you right now. So if you like a name, you think you could get a squeeze in it, understand, you're just playing a squeeze. You're just playing a squeeze. All right, well, and here's the other thing too. If we do get some further weakness at some point, we want to see them buy the weakness aggressively. We don't want to see MMM catch a big sweep and then nothing else. That's not going to do us any good. They gotta start hitting names to make us believers. Until then, we're playing for the squeeze. But again, I stress to you guys, the good thing about it is, look where we were. Okay, I tell you guys this. I've been telling you this for the last couple of weeks. Okay, we were close to putting a kibosh on any potential length to this bull market, right? If we started to melt up while everybody was talking about the freaking melt up, and brokerage houses were pitching to their clients to buy calls for the melt up, if that would have happened from that point, we were done. It was game over. All right, so this came in the nick of time, and now what we're starting to see, a lot of that intermediate term sentiment that was just cooked really start to get washed out nicely here. You know, really get washed out nicely here. So, you know, you got the trade war overhang and all that. And I think when I've heard a couple of people say this, the biggest risk, I think, is a panic. That's all right, like we had late last year. That's always the risk. But if you stay tactical, usually those panics will come after a squeeze. You know, they usually don't come when everybody's all swimming around in puts. You know, you see, like Friday, what happened, right? You had this here, right here. Oops, wrong pen. Friday, this was Friday. I mean, Thursday. This was Friday, the wash into bearish sentiment. And you had, whoop, the squeeze, right? And that squeeze, that line wasn't straight, but you get what I'm saying. That squeeze, this squeeze right here, okay, everybody who was all in puts covered their hedges there. You understand? So when this came, you know, people weren't all in the protection they were in and then put it back on. And then what happens? Squeeze. You know what I mean? So, but that's the risk in situations like this. That Trump overdoes it here, right? He thinks he's got it. He plays the market like a yo-yo. He can get it to do whatever he wants. And while he's trying to get it, you know, a little weakness out there, gets fool some people, he overstays his welcome, and you get that panic that hits the credit markets, and then you got a problem for the time being. You know, you got a problem. So that's why there's no reason to go cuckoo here. Stick to buying weakness, play for squeezes. I don't see any harm coming out of that until things get a little clearer. Which one, Connor? Connor's asking, how do I view these large sweeping orders when they come through? Which are you talking about? One order in particular? Oh, you're talking about in what I'm talking about? The best way to explain it, go to wallstreetjesus.com, Connor, and there's a strategy section, and it'll explain to you what I'm talking about. But basically, they're aggressive bets. That's, you know what I mean? They're aggressive bets in the option market. That's what we're looking at and what we're looking for. These things. TRXC. Oh, that was the robotics. Didn't that get killed off earnings? I get that confused with another biotech too. Let me see. TRXC. Is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. October, right? So yeah, George, you had pre-earnings action, October's. They apparently didn't do something right off earnings, and it looked like they came back to buy some more Octobers. They sold one machine. That's probably, well, what do you expect, Gordon? It's $1 stock. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to tell me you want to buy the thing at a buck and change as a spec play and put it away or play some, you know what I mean? It's a roll of the dice play. What do you think you got here? Microsoft? What do you think? You got the next Microsoft? You can buy a piece of bubble gum more than what the stock trades for. Now, this is Spec City, baby. Spec City. ABBV, honestly, it wasn't. You know, had a nice move today. Ani, it wasn't. It was squeeze action. You know, right off the open. Cheap squeeze action. You could see there was early juice. You know, it's a shame because because the Niners there, you know, you have a nice spot there. You have a real nice spot in that ABBV. But I'm being straight with you. The action wasn't, the order flow wasn't anything impressive at all. Yeah, well, what I'm gonna say, and I think that's, if you're, you know, if you're looking at the name, that's not a bad idea. But maybe it's the prelude. Maybe a lot of what we're seeing now is, you know what I mean, the prelude to some better looking action coming in. You know, maybe we get some weakness. Again, the key word is maybe. You hear me keep repeating it because you never know. But if we get some weakness and they come in, some of these names, and hit them harder. That's why I think if you like the name, even though the action's not anything special, keep it on a watch list. I mean, that's what I've been doing with a lot of these things. You know, at least you know where it's at. You know where it's at. You're looking at it every day, see how it's trading, and maybe they hit it hard. Yeah, listen, Ani, we want weakness. You know what I mean? We want weakness here. That's what we want. Because if we get a market that you got to chase green over a certain amount of days, you're asking for trouble. You know, the only way I think this turns into something decent of a rally, you know, maybe over the next 2 weeks, something like that, if we get at least these nice, scary fades throughout the day, kind of like what happened at the end of today. You see, at the end of today, you could almost feel it. Maybe I had CNBC in the background. That's a good way to feel it. But you could almost, you heard people saying, "Oh, you know, here we go, we're fading. Why are we fading? Any news?" What you see, people are on edge, panicky, right? You understand? So that's good. That's how you want it, and that's what sentiment's been showing us. All right, so these fades, they could be bought when we see action into them. All right, so that's a good thing, especially that we want to remain tactical here. You know, the fades are where you make the money. You want to be careful chasing the green. You know, if you're going to hold overnight type thing, especially. VVIX, what did it end up doing? Oh, but here's another thing. Keep an eye on. VXX caught some size. It was a block, but some size put buying late today. I don't know if you guys stuck around to the bell, but right before the bell, some VXX put buying. Something to keep in mind tomorrow if there's weakness. All right, keep an eye out for these guys, because anybody who's been watching sweepers with me over the last couple of years, you don't need me to tell you about these guys. They're money. When they start buying VXX puts, put your squeeze hat on. It's coming. So they bought them right into the little lift too, which I like about it. You saw like the market were selling off, and you had a little lift from death. This thing was dying all day, and they came in, boom, right at the highs over there. All right, so something to keep an eye on tomorrow. And that's the play. The intraday squeezes are the best right now, if you can take advantage of them. You know, if you can take advantage of them, the intraday squeezes, you know, just hopping on for the ride, making some money. That's where the least amount of risk is, because you can control it, you know, for the most part. You don't have to get too greedy. So we'll see what happens there. What else? Anybody else? Spencer saying, Connor, you can send Spencer at sanglucci.com an email, and he could send you some information, and he could guide you and help you out too. That's Spencer at sanglucci.com. What else is on your mind here? Anybody else? TLT, there was some call flow, but it looked like they were pushing some stuff out, Tim. I didn't even see what that do today. I didn't even really pay attention to that too much. Oh, you know what else caught flow? Some extra flow again. It was trading XDiv. I bought some of this too. Another pig. MPC. You got a niner. Post earnings buying. That's all I care about. But it is oil. So do what you want with it. Do what you want with it. But it did see a little more flow today. And you know, oil could rally too. If equities rally, oil could rally. Yeah, AMD had a real nice move today. Did you trade it on it? I scalped it off, as you probably saw the wave of nice. Yeah, I just quickly scalped it off the wave of that spec lotto action that came in because you could see it was creating momentum. But I wasn't trying to get too greedy there. You know, you could see here they stepped on the gas, and you know, so this is what we're talking about here. You know, again, you're probably not going to catch the whole move, but you know, if you could get in between some of this and you can make some money, or off weakness, you'll probably see a bigger move. You know, for you option players out there. Believe it or not, oh George, we saw a put buyer right in Fossil. I thought it was you're right, it was a put buyer, I think. Yeah. While you're looking for a call buyer here, let's see what this guy looks like. Some of these retail names just, oh my God. My God. Some of these retail names got lit up. Yo, you know what caught one, George? Gap. What about the Gap? You feeling strong? That had a nice reversal. Son of a gun. Gap caught a half decent sweep into weakness. Yeah, honey. I mean, you got the right plan. You know, you got the right plan. You got to whip out the playbook, and there's no greed involved. That's the thing, right? When you get greedy on these up days, you know, if you're playing late into the squeeze, that's where you feel some pain. This Gap had a nice squeeze. I didn't even realize it. I didn't have the coconuts, even though it was red, to get in even for a day trade. Netflix, yeah, saw a little bit of action, nothing major. It wasn't anything too crazy, but saw a little bit of action. What she end up doing today? Let's see. Down? Google took a beating, right? Yeah, I'm the same way, Ani. I'm a little too quick. TTD. Yeah. You got some nice pullbacks, but you know, we don't know, you know, how deep this can get here. You know what I'm saying? But I do think, George, again, it's my gut more than anything else. You know, you want to see the flow and everything confirm it, but I do think we get a little bit of a rally here, you know, because these things have been so deep. Now they could also, which would be awful, but if you're buying weakness, you might be able to find a trade out of it. They could also chop around down here, you know, that type of thing, before setting up a bigger move north or south. But we have a window where we at least have a shot. Like, let me pull up ES or SPY, it doesn't matter, but all right, so you had, you know, all overextended levels. You had this nice pull here. Like, you know, this is getting deep here. We might even get a niner out of this. You know, right now you're just getting these squeezes basically sticking within here, you know. But one of these moves might pop out to, you know, somewhere around there. that type of thing. Maybe even higher, but you get the picture. And then it's going to set up a more of a trend type thing, higher lows, and then we get the real answer. Do we bust out or do we go south? And that's going to come. Watch, that's going to come right around the deadline again. What do you think is going to happen? Right around the deadline. What is it? A couple of weeks? The G20? Couple of weeks, right? So that's why we want to stick to weakness, right? Let them sell them. We want to look for entries into the weakness, even more so when we have sentiment on our side, so it can limit the downside for us, and the probability is higher for a squeeze. And take some profit into rips. What the hell did I just draw over here? You can see I have fun with the drawing here. Anybody else have anything? Yeah, so the Niner, we'll keep an eye out. What's SPY look like? ES, we're going to be going into tomorrow is an 8. So when this opens up at 6:30, whenever it opens up, we're going to have an 8 on ES. And SPY, let's check her out. Same thing. Same thing. Look at that. Look how this pink here, right? Just looks scary too. Doesn't the pink look scary? Oh man, I got to buy into that hot pink. Yeah, hot pink. But they washed that all out nicely. All right, boys and girls. Anything else? Any quick questions? Did I miss anybody? Yes, you can. On Thinkorswim, it's called Sequence Counter. Sequence Counter. Yeah, by the time I write the word counter, we'll all drop dead. Sequence Counter on Thinkorswim. And you're not going to get all this fancy pantsy stuff, but you're going to get the numbers. That's the most important. Yeah, the DIA, I want to see again confirmed that they they officially closed them out. It looked like they did to me. And the thing about DIA too, like yesterday, if you remember when that action came in, they started with a couple sweeps. And yesterday's climate, you don't really want to jump on it. I didn't even know, Tim, you told me the first sweep came at the highest price. I didn't even remember that. But then you see they came back, they added. So, on a day like yesterday especially, unless you're looking to add, you want to take your time. You know what I mean? You want to take your time, nice and easy. If you can piece in. But because yesterday you're talking about a bloody situation, right? The momentum was pretty much south all day, and the only bullish activity was coming into this. So that was the problem yesterday. It's like picking what spot did you want to pull the trigger on those DIA calls. But I think it lined up perfectly, and I'm sure you would agree, Tim, for us, because based off where sentiment was at, and based off what we've been talking about with the flow and individual names, it was almost like the perfect, they give us the perfect thing to try to make a trade off of, to try to catch a squeeze short term. But yeah, and listen, my opinion, okay, and this is my opinion, I can't say all the time anyhow, but I suggest when you put on a trade like that and it's going according to your plan, don't always pay attention to what they're doing as far as closing them out and stuff. Because here's the problem. Could have closed them out. He may end up rolling them. We don't know what happens behind the scenes. You understand what I'm saying? But if you were in for just a trade, that's something you want to take off the table today. That's something you want to take off the table today. You were playing for the squeeze, you got the squeeze. And listen, you could always add them into weakness again if they show up. But yeah, Tim, it's basically you're basically on the same page they're at. There's stuff you want to give a leash to, and there's stuff you want to take off the table when you get it. I mean, I think that was lined up perfect for that. There's been some nice SPY action too. If you want to target into weakness further out, right? Which SPY, Tim, caught your eye? I know you were talking about a SPY bet. Which SPY? Was that the May 31st? Oh, the short-term one. Yeah. That was the one after the torpedo leap, right? Yep. I remember that one. Wow. Yeah, I remember Joey mentioned it too. It had a nice move. There was a big bet too in SPY going out to June 2020. So basically a year out. Nice looking sweep there. But yeah, that's a lot of time. And we got time to make a move on that if we want. Yeah, that's a good question too. ASHR Tim is asking about, caught a little bit of action. The thing is, I like when they buy ASHR Tim, I like when they come in with the Uzi. You know what I mean? I like when they come in and literally it'll be for like an hour straight and they'll just annihilate it. Now, it's been a decent trade sometimes off some of these size bets. So don't get me wrong. But for me, and that's been the case for a while in this thing, for years, when they come after it in that aggressive nature, like they literally can spend a half a day buying it, that usually bodes well. So, but something to keep an eye on. Caught some bull flow today. And, more importantly, we'll see into weakness what they do. That's what I want to see. Because Tim, it could be shorties just hedging off some risk with these one hitters, especially in this environment. All right, guys. So basically the name of the game here, remain tactical. Nothing out of the flow, even on a green day today with some bullish activity has told us any different. And weakness, weakness, especially when sentiment's on our side. For those of you who are not Steam Room members, look at the put the call. You get a decent spike. You got weakness into that following day. That's where you want to look for an entry if you're going to play for a squeeze. That's where the odds are with you anyway. All right, if anybody has any questions, like some of you who did earlier, go to wallstreetjesus.com. Let me pull it up so you guys can see it for those of you who... It's right there on the front page here, strategy. All right, you become a little more familiar with everything on there. And if you want to take a closer look, we got a free trial, no credit card, 3 days. Yeah, 3 days, not a lot, but you get an idea of what we're looking at day in, day out. You can hear me run my mouth all day on audio, video, watch some Niners trade throughout the day. But again, no credit card, so no obligation whatsoever. If you're interested in private Twitter, you go to the product section and you click on private Twitter feed and you can get access to just private Twitter. All right, you guys know where to find me. Enjoy the night. Good luck the rest of the week.